PodcastCoug Season 5, Ep02.
You're listening to the PodcastCoug Radio Network with your host, James Laurie. The PodcastCoug is your weekly Coug on Demand show featuring all things Cougs and Washington State Cougar football. And now, here is your host, PodcastCoug.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the PodcastCoug. I am James Laurie, the PodcastCoug, and you are listening to the PodcastCoug, where we're all things Cougar football. 30 minutes of Coug talk. We're talking about Jayden de Laura, Oregon State, our O-line, our defense, Coach Dickert, Coach Rolo, and our upcoming game against Oregon in Pullman on Saturday. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another week. And hey, what a surprise to learn, right? Last Saturday, Max Borghi, during Saturday night's game, during the kickoff, right before the kickoff, learned that he's not on the bus. He didn't make the trip. That is just crazy. What a surprise due to apparent back injury, right, in practice. So it's not clear how long Max is going to be out, but chances are he's not playing on Saturday. Just have a feeling he's not going to play against the Ducks. Let's hope it's not all season. We learned, right, that 32 players total didn't make the trip down to Corvallis. It was just shocking. And, it's just not COVID. I just can't believe that that's COVID, right? 32, 2 or 3 maybe. But anyway, got to be a team violation, right? Or team rules. Sounds like it's disciplinary action. So Coach Rolo is really quiet about it. So it's got to be some sort of team violation or rules. And we move on, right? So however, think about it. It made our 38-28 victory over Oregon State all that more impressive by not bringing in our A team, if you think about it, right? So true freshman quarterback Jayden de Laura, 3 touchdowns. Deon McIntosh, running back as a backup to Max Borghi, came from Notre Dame. What an amazing surprise, exceptional in Borghi's absence. Deon McIntosh, 147 yards. Cougs defense showed significant improvements from last year, shutting the Beavers out in the first quarter and giving up only 7 points, right, in the first half. So Rolovich became the first Coug Washington State coach to win a debut on the road in 43 years, and the Cougs extended their winning streak against the Beavs to 7 games. That's 7 in a row, right? We're going to take that. So we're just going to keep rolling with the Rolo. 7 games, love it, with the Beavs, and the Cougs were up as many as 21 points before the Beavs, and they're all Pac-12 running back. Jamar Jefferson gave a really great comeback attempt, closing the gap to 3 points right there in the fourth quarter, 31-28. However, we sealed the deal. Wide receiver Travell Harris took it inside, a handoff, 44 yards to the house, and we saw Harris speed right through. There was an open hole, Oregon State's defense, and just literally walked in the end zone, right? Just literally walked in. And then, of course, Cougs took a 10-point lead, and we put the nail in the coffin on that game. So, that was kind of nice, right? So de Laura, first freshman quarterback in program history to start the season opener, finished with 2 passing touchdowns and 1 on the ground. And he was 18 of 33, 227 yards, 1 interception, 8 carries, 43 yards. While adding an extra dimension to our ground game like we haven't seen be many years. The past 8 years with the air raid, we have seen nothing like that. What a surprise de Laura was and is going to be, right? Just incredible weapon. Can you imagine all the fans cheering and rooting in the state of Hawaii? Just probably the entire state was watching. And anybody that was interested in football or the University of Hawaii Rainbows, Warriors, they were watching the local guy, all the high school and gosh, all of his friends and family. That must have been crazy. So what an amazing, it's just what amazing about de Laura, that his ability to handle the ball, with perfection. I mean, the guy has that sensational fake. He's got his hand size is 10 inches. And what a freak dual quarterback threat. It's just he's going to get you. He's going to kill you either way. And those amazing fakes. I mean, I have just never seen that type of fake in that level really before. And it was just fun to watch him run too. That was just great. There were some that the first quarter, I mean, think about it. He was probably a little bit nervous, possibly. It's on the big stage. Throws the bullet pass, which was kind of interesting. We don't see that a lot. With the Leach quarterbacks in the past, they're all quick release and catchable balls. And that's something that he's going to have to obviously work on, but he's showing a lot of confidence, and you can see why Rolo handed him the keys to the offense. For a true freshman, de Laura was incredible. Control of the offense, and then, like I said, the pump fake and the 10-inch hands and the freak, everything. I mean, it's just unbelievable that pump fake that I was talking about. It's just so fun to watch. Calm, cool, a playmaker all day long. And but like I said, he needs to throw consistent catchable balls, not bullets, but the quick release catchable balls. Hopefully he can work on that technique. And then you've got our running game, right? Deon McIntosh, who actually came from Notre Dame, like I said, started and featured. He was featured as running back as his first time as a career with the Cougs, and he averages He averaged 8 yards per carry, 147 yards, and one of the top individual rushing performances by a Coug in 13 years. I have a hard time believing that, but that's 13 years. And then, we had Oregon State's Jamar Jefferson, who nailed us last year almost. So he continued to be dominant with the Cougs, especially in that fourth quarter. Jamar got 120 yards, 21 carries, and 3 touchdowns. What a weapon for Oregon State. They are not in a reload, they are in that rebuild. And although the first year starting quarterback Tristan Gebbia had a surprising 329 yards in the air, and just didn't make the big plays until really the fourth quarter. It was pretty good. But he just didn't get it done, and not sure why. But the Cougs, defense, they had 4 sacks without forcing a turnover, and that's pretty good. I mean, the defense stepped up much better than last year. I mean, it looks just great. One of the players that stepped up was Aiden Hector, right? True freshman walk-on from Eastside Catholic in Bellevue or Sammamish Plateau, and was going to Stanford, led the team with 8 tackles, and he was a walk-on. Right? What an incredible talent. Aiden Hector, so happy that you're with us. Oh my gosh. Other guys showed up, Ron Stone Jr., Admir Crowder, and Willie Taylor. We haven't seen defense play like this in years. It's such a great thing to watch. Our O-line is just solid. Our defensive line is way better than last year. Defense. Bottom line, game 1 appears to be that our defense is looking much better than last year. And what a surprise to everybody. Everybody was surprised, right? So we saw 16 players make their Coug debuts. 4 players, their first career starts. That's Lucas Bacon, Jarrett Kingston, Brian Green, and, of course, Jayden de Laura. And then 4 players made their first career starts on defense. Brennan Jackson, Admir Crowder, Jalen Watson, and Aiden Hector. So, and then, hey, what about our offensive line? I mean, our veteran offensive line. The O-line played well. It's legit, right? So the Cougs rushed for more than 7 yards per carry and consistently created running lanes for McIntosh. Granted, look at who the opponent was, right? Not complaining. O-line looks great, We weren't playing Ohio State, but we look pretty good, especially on that opening season debut. Pac-12 win is a Pac-12 win. So de Laura was sacked just once, turning into an OSU pass rush once, trying to escape the pocket in the second half. And aside from that, de Laura generally had enough time to sit in the pocket, read through his progressions, and take off when Oregon State's defense gave him the space. So it was really cool and great. And let's talk about that defense once. what about our defense? Solid first half, with the Cougs allowed just one single touchdown and 160 yards total offense. Again, 7 points in the first half. In other words, a complete turnaround from last season, right? So Dickert's defense left us really positive, optimistic, especially considering Washington State allowed 53 points and 601 yards total offense to Oregon State last year on that track meet that was like over 100 points, in Pullman. So it confirms that Leach did not leave the cupboard empty on D, and many of us thought he did. Bolted, our defense just was ferocious. It's just sad last year. And, based on last year's performance versus last Saturday, what a difference. And you got to hand it off to the coaching staff, Incredible job to Coach Dickert. Yep, Jake Dickert, defensive coordinator, his staff, Rolovich. It's just the whole thing. And they just were prepared. How about being prepared for a game? Isn't that great once in a while to see the coaches prepare these guys and 32 players not making the trip? Are you kidding me? So they were prepared. They showed up, just consistent effort from the 11 guys that were on the field. So many positive outcomes with the new coach, new quarterback, new defense, new players. It's nice to know that there's no rebuilding. It's a reload. It's the Rolo reload. How about that? I like that. Rolo reload, right? Indeed. Plenty of good things. Cougs also produced 4 quarterback sacks and held the Beavers to 5 yards per play. And while Washington State's offense generated 7 yards per play. So, hey, we're going to talk about Oregon, the Oregon Ducks, next, right here on the second half of the Podcast Coug.
Hey, Coug fans. You're podcasting with James Laurie and the PodcastCoug Radio Network. The Podcast Coug is your weekly Coug on Demand show, featuring all things Cougar football in Washington State. To help you get through the week, hit the subscribe button or check us out on iTunes, the App Store, iOS, Google Play, Stitcher, or at PodcastCoug.com.
The real estate agent you work with matters, and a great agent helps you own the home of your dreams. And your dreams come true with James Laurie at Coldwell Banker Bain, representing clients like you 24/7. From condos to colonials and everything in between. If you're selling, buying, need a price analysis, or just a contractor referral, ask James, winner of the 2015 through 2019 International Coldwell Banker Diamond Award, with dozens and dozens of 5-star Zillow reviews and Seattle Magazine's 5-star award winner for 2018 through 2020. James Laurie, Coldwell Banker Bain, at 425-466-3672 or jameslaurie.net. Rock solid results.
You're listening to the Podcast Coug.
2 running backs in with the quarterback. Signals called. All man in motion going through to the right side. Hand off wing side to the right 5. Touchdown, Washington State.
You are listening to the Podcast Coug.
Welcome back to the second half of the Podcast Coug. I am James Laurie, the Podcast Coug, where we're all things Cougar football, all things Cougs. Washington State 1-0, host 11th ranked Oregon for the first home game in the Rolo era at home. Martin Stadium, of course, 4:00 Saturday, Big Fox. It's Oregon and Washington State. Oregon is a 7.5-point favorite. Last week, Oregon, right, beat Stanford easily, 35-14 in its season opener at Autzen. However, Stanford missed 4 field goals, and if you just convert 2 of those into touchdowns, that the game is closer than most realize. Stanford had over 400 yards in offense, rushed almost 200, passed for 216. So the Duck defense isn't as great as the 14 points that appeared on the scoreboard. So while the Cougs, right, have a priority to step up their run defense, it's still a work in progress. Now, remember, Jamar Jefferson, Oregon State, rushed for 121 yards and 3 touchdowns, averaging 6 yards per carry, right, Saturday. Well, the Ducks, they've got a running game that's even more potent in Oregon State by far. Oregon has got 3 guys. They rushed for at least 78 yards in their win over Stanford. One of those where it was, quarterback Tyler Shuck, and he demonstrated his mobility with 11 carries, 85 yards, 1 touchdown. However, we should be more concerned about running back C.J. Verdell, right? He had 20 carries, 105 yards, 3 TDs a year ago. Watch out for C.J. Verdell. Okay, that's the guy. CJ 4 or 5 star player. The guy's great. However, it's always however, right? There's always a however. Even though Oregon has an overwhelming edge in their talent, right? Top 15 recruiting class in 2018, 2019, 2020. Always great recruit. Just blows the socks off even USC for their recruiting lately. It's translated into a lopsided boat race. It has not translated into a lopsided boat race, they're on the field with results. I mean, think about it. The Cougs have won 4 over the Ducks in the past 5 years. 4 out of the last 5 years. It's Cougs. They've been nail biters, right? They're all close. I'm betting you dollars to donuts. Oregon's best players is probably their edge runner, their edge runner, Kayvon Thibodeau. That guy is also amazing too. Their edge rusher. And, if the Cougs offensive line were as good as the veterans that we say they are, we can contain Thibodeau, and Washington State's offense has the opportunity to beat the 11th ranked Ducks, on Saturday. And when the 11th ranked, hey, why not wait until week whatever? It's only the second week, so who knows if they're 11th ranked. But right now, today, they're 11th ranked. So last year in Eugene, trying to make it 5 in a row over the Ducks, the Cougs went up 35-34. Do you remember that last year? They had a 5-year run. Anthony Gordon pass to Brandon Arcanago exactly with 1 minute left, and the Ducks had the ball last. Remember our defense last year, right? So it was Ducks had the last chance. And Michael Wright returned the kickoff return, 36 yards, and then 4 consecutive pass completions from Justin Herbert set up a Camden Lewis field goal from the 26. And at the buzzer, the Ducks win 37-35. And then they go on to win the Pac-12 championship and then they go beat Wisconsin in the Rose Bowl. They edged out Wisconsin, but January 1st. They had a great year last year. We almost beat them. I mean, at the fourth quarter, right at the buzzer, they beat the Cougs with a field goal. Every year it is close, but we've got Oregon. We've had them for years, and so they are beatable. Pretty much, we always play really good against the Ducks, and again, 4 of the last 5 years. So Coach Cristobal, right? He's got a lot of talent, coaching these last 4 years. This is his 3rd year, by the way. And, but in years past, it's been kind of average to below average as far as with the Cougs. They're certainly beatable, and this is a doable win for Washington State. Now, remember, our defense has significantly improved. Our run game is, and the dual threat is there, and De Laura could have a breakout performance, given the fact that we saw what we saw regarding the Ducks' defensive backs against Stanford. So, it's obviously doable, right? And don't be surprised. And look, the weather, it's going to be cold. It's going to be chilly, cold in Pullman. Chance of snow on Friday. And Saturday, anything's possible. I think it's going to be in the 35-ish, 40. Really, I don't see any snow. I think it's just going to be a little chilly. Watching the game Saturday night to gauge where this team is. It looks like they've improved over last year, and they've recruited really well. So, they develop these players so well. They reload. They've reached out. The level of the program where it is, they can afford to lose guys, and they've lost about 5 offensive linemen. We're talking about Oregon now, right? They've lost a lot of guys on their O-line, and they're fine. It's just it's a tribute to their 3rd-year coach, Mario, Cristobal. He's done a great job. He has, especially with getting guys. So, if the Cougs take care of the ball, we can beat the Ducks. However, we're going to need a little bit more speed at the linebacker position, right? So hopefully we got a few players that are coming back this week. And regarding De Laura, I think he's got the right stuff. He's a competitor. You know, he's gonna keep us in the games, right? He's gonna be there he's gonna keep us in. And you know, it's that second game of the season. Usually you're seeing a lot of more team development, a lot more improvement on the second game of the year. And think about the lack of penalties the Cougs had against Oregon State on the first game of the year. I mean, they were just coached up, right? Hats off to Coach Rolo and on getting this team ready, and Coach Dickert. I mean, they did a great job of getting ready. And the second game of the year is usually we're seeing big improvements. And de Laura made some great passes, but he missed a few and some crossing routes that he had potentially a lot of yards after catch. So on that last week's game, we've seen more accurate passing, like I said, from Leach's quarterbacks, right? Although Leach recruited de Laura, okay? But all of his other quarterbacks have always been very accurate, very catchable balls, quick release, and I think that can be improved, obviously. My immediate concern with de Laura is that he can be, you know, like I said, more accurate and throw catchable balls. And if that happens, he can be, you know, if we continue to improve, absolutely we can beat Oregon. And I'm not being delusional. You know, it's only the second week. We don't know if they're the 11th ranked team in the country. We have no idea, right? So, I mean, they are now, but, you know, and they are the defending Rose Bowl champions. So anyway, again, Saturday's temperature, 35, 40, chance of showers, a bit of wind, a little chilly, and it's going to be fun. 4 o'clock, Big Fox, right? Hey, that's it for the Podcast Coug, episode 2 of season 5. Thanks everybody for listening. Be sure to subscribe if you liked what you're hearing, right? It's Oregon and the Cougs, Saturday, 4 o'clock, Big Fox. God bless and go Cougs.
You've been listening to the Podcast Coug with your host, James Laurie. The Podcast Coug is your weekly Coug on Demand show featuring all things Cougs and Washington State Cougar football. This has been a presentation of the Podcast Coug Radio Network. Find us at PodcastCoug.com.
Deon